Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. The American Savage here. Don't usually do this, but I usually stream around on the internet and look at what other people are doing, especially car guys, homesteading people, Harley guys, and see what they're building or fixing or whatever, just to see what's going on, sort of with people of like mind. And one person I do follow quite a bit and watch his videos is the CarWizard. So I've never talked to this guy at all or corresponded with him, but his channel is pretty impressive. The guy's very professional, very honest. Near as I can tell, everything he does is really, really high quality. He usually deals with newer stuff, newer cars and whatnot. But this video here really captured a lot of what this channel has been about for the most part. I will have a couple of caveats, but I cannot disagree with anything that he said. Let's take a look.
This old truck will still be cruising the highway long after that plastic piece of crap 2025 Ford truck you're looking at is long gone. Let's take a look at this thing. It's sweet.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with him. Now, he the one caveat, this would be the caveat I have. The one caveat I have about all of this is that by the time you get to the 90s, and believe me, compared to today, I would take a 1990s truck any day over the crap that they have and that they're building today. But back at the time, you know, I think we've forgotten that most people were very upset right around 1987, really, with the newer cars coming out, because what they started to do is that cutoff point, 86 was the last year. What they started to do in 87 and on, in increasingly, was start computerizing vehicles. Now, back in 1997, which is what this truck is, compared to today, very little electronics. But back then, they were just starting to introduce them. So what you would find on these cars beginning around 87 and then certainly on through the 90s was the carburetors went away. And if they did have a carburetor, they had like a throttle position sensor on them. And those sensors always went bad and caused many problems. They started putting sensors on the exhaust, pre-catalytic converters, after catalytic converter sensors, and then a whole host of sensors into the transmission and whatnot to start monitoring things. It was around this time that the mechanic, who could pretty much work on a car without having any electronics on it, could decipher any electronic problem. So if there was spark, there was a way to determine whether you had spark or whether you didn't have spark. But there were no sensors that you needed a computer, a handheld computer or a computer monitor to pull the trouble codes off to determine what was wrong with the vehicle. And those things could cause tons of problems back then, backfiring through the carburetor or backfiring through the throttle body, backfiring through the exhaust, all sorts of problems, gutlessness. And you had to have some of these computers to be able to decipher what the hell was going on with the vehicle. And at that moment, that's when it priced people like me out of the market. Like back then, compared to today. But back then, they were very expensive, and you had to have all this new material, these new things in your tool chest to be able to just work on them. And that is not even counting the fact that a lot of people were dismayed that they were starting to cover up the engine. In other words, if you look at any car from certainly before 1986, you're going to find that you could see the engine. You could look at it. It wasn't covered up with a bunch of crap, plastic crap usually. Around 97 and whatnot, and you can see even on this one, even though it's very clean, and compared to today, it doesn't have a lot of the stuff covering it. It's covered up way more than you'll see in a 1980 vehicle, for example. So yeah, I totally agree with him on that, and I think that he is spot on. These cars that are older but still has sort of a modicum amount of electronics on it and sensors, and sort of the OB kind of bus system. That's when it started to come into play here. Then yeah, you bet. I would take a 90s or even an early 2000s truck over any of the crap they're making today. And the reason for that is partly what I mentioned, but also because back then they were still work trucks. They were still made to haul things, do things. Whereas today's truck barely has a bed, and they're almost like a car. Anyway, let's continue.
This is definitely the golden era of trucks. I don't really care what brand. I don't care. Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever. Mid to late 90s, even late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in that range. They got good amenities. They got electronic fuel injection. They're comfortable, AC, heat, all the nice things, but yet it's still meant for doing work. It's meant to haul stuff, not going to the mall, go shopping. This customer has had this car since brand new. It's an elderly gentleman, a very nice customer. We really enjoy doing business with this couple. And he made a comment the other day. He said, I bought this brand new and I will be gone and this thing will still be cruising around. And I said, I know. I can't guarantee that with a 2025 truck though. This is a 1997 Ford F-250 with the 5.8 liter. This thing is clean, guys, 138,000 miles on it. And it looks really, really nice.
The one thing, I'll stop right here, but the one thing that that sort of turned people off, and I'm talking at the time, and I'm obviously speaking for myself and the small amount of people that I hung around, is when they started rounding off the front ends of these. They did it for a reason. They did it for reasons of aerodynamics and what was happening from the federal government at the time, and even some states like California. But they were trying to eke out every single possible mile they could, because the EPA regulations were starting to require a lot of our vehicles to meet mileage standards and pollution standards. So they started to round off the trucks, really all cars here, and make everything flush. Was because they were trying to make them more aerodynamic and thus increase gas mileage. Now, aesthetically, for me, I never liked that look. I like the old school bullnose looks from the Fords in particular. Heck, my Ford's a bullnose. So, the square body look, I think, is far more attractive than the look that we're seeing here in the 1990s. But that's just a minor quibble on my part. Still, for the most part, you bet this truck is far more reliable than the stuff that is brand new that we're seeing now.
Look around this thing. It has a nice cowboy front license plate on there, just like this truck. It's back in the old days. It's your typical front end, just like you were seeing in any of the late 90s Ford trucks. F-150, 250, 350, didn't matter. They all looked the same pretty much on the front. It's got a really cool kind of a turquoise-ish, what color would you call it, Mrs. Wizard?
Oh, that is very classic 90s turquoise.
Yep, it's beautiful. It's got some nice
have to admit, it's a beautiful truck. Now, this truck is in the shop because here's a clunking. We're not going to go through the whole video. I'm going to skip to the end here. But the CarWizard, very thorough. You should go look this up. And there you see the title here down below, right here. That you should go watch the whole thing. But he finds the problem with it. Very minor deal. The truck is very well taken care of. But what is interesting about this, at least for me, is that how easy these vehicles were to work on. And I say that, and I've already mentioned that we used to complain about how complicated they were getting in the late 80s. But man, compared to today, you bet, man, there's nothing like today. So so I totally agree with the CarWizard about all that. So we're going to go on to hear what he says at the end, which I think is pretty good.
A lot of people email me and ask me, how about this 2024 this or 2023 that, a truck or a car? Not only am I not going to know if they're reliable or not because they're still under factory warranty, they're not even coming to this shop because they're still under factory warranty. They're taking it to the dealer to have all the work done. I don't get to hear the stories yet that much of if they're reliable or not. I haven't seen them or worked on them. But what I've been hearing from a lot of friends I have that work in Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Honda dealerships, all kind of different brands, it doesn't really matter the brand. The new stuff, what I'm hearing, is not very good. It's pretty trashy. It's pretty junky. I'll give you a couple instances here. Like here's a 1973 Ford truck. It's a 3/4 ton. $15,000. Here's a 1986 Chevy truck. Also $15,000. Why are these old trucks going for so much money? I can remember trucks like that when I was younger going for $1,500. Maybe even $1,000, and now they're worth $15,000. I've seen some for $20. And the reason why is because the people out here, the farmers, the construction workers, the industrial workers that just need a good work truck like this, they don't need an Alienware gaming PC for their dash. They just need a truck, and they don't want to spend $95,000 for it either.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, he is spot on right. Sometimes what you need is something that is just reliable, no frills, and that, he could have brought this up. I brought it up on my channel before here, but it bears repeating. And some of this comes from some of the books that I've reviewed. Called Why We Drive. I think it's by Luxco or something like that. I think I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but those books about some of the modern cars, they make a point, and that is cars today almost drive themselves. We have all this computer wear on it. We don't have to pay attention to how we brake anymore because the computer's going to do it for us. Almost everything in our steering and whatnot, and now they're trying to take away even that from us with AI vehicles, but requires us to be alert and aware. And there's another thing that I think contributes to this, and while a lot of the newer cars are very quiet, you don't feel the vibration of the road, I actually think that's a detracting feature. I think it lulls us into complacency. When you're on the road in a lot of these older vehicles, you have to pay attention. And, it's like when I ride my Harley, I feel the road. I hear the engine. And those are two things that I want in a vehicle or a motorcycle. I don't want to be sort of lulled to sleep. The CarWizard could have added that. But he's absolutely right. Some of the prices, though, do sort of ebb and flow. And you're going to see, let's see here. I bought my F350 5 years ago for $4,000. But it required a lot of work. If you've watched this channel, you've seen what I did to it. And I made a lot of mistakes. But it looks, I dumped a lot of money into it. So, it's probably worth $20 now. But back when I got it, it wasn't, because it needed a lot of work done and a lot of metal replaced and whatnot. But he's right. There's a lot of people, or there's a growing community, if you will, in America, especially among men, that don't want these modern trucks that are astronomically priced, and they're just unreliable.
These things are starting to go up in value because I think people are getting tired of all the plasticky, gimmicky garbage, especially people that really do work for the truck. I've heard that from a lot of friends that are farmers. They're like, I'm scared to take my truck out and feed the hogs because you get all that slop in there and the electronics fry, things go bad, and it could cost $20,000 to go through this whole system of screens and dash and gadgets and gizmos. And Actually, I have a story of a dealership. I'm not going to mention any names or brands. I don't need any legal trouble. But there was a point where they have 12 lifts in their dealership here just not too long ago. And the brand of trucks that this company sells, every single lift was filled with trucks with their cabs off, having major head gasket problems. These are 2024 trucks, supposed to be brand new. That many people have been inconvenienced. They're just trash. So we can start to see why a lot of these old trucks like this will still be on the road long after that brand new one you just bought is long dead and gone. Because in 20 years, who's going to spend 15 grand to put a new dash in, or new computers, and who's going to program it? So only at Omega do you have a really nice F2.
Yep, I think that's exactly right. Anyway, good show, CarWizard. Thanks a lot. You know, I highly encourage people to go view his channel. You'll find a lot of great stuff there. And, you know, you'll learn something too, but also keep up with kind of what's going on out there in the marketplace, and also with the supply chain. CarWizard's pretty good about talking about the supply chain and why parts are hard to find and which parts you cannot find anymore. All right. Savage, hang loose, out.